In a few hours, everything will be known.
Instead of everything, he's saying everything.
Everything.
Polish speakers do this a lot. They say things like very, sorry, many instead of many. It's a fun little thing that Polish speakers do, but it should be an E sound. Hey there! A while back I made a reaction video to Ana de Armas' Spanish accent in the Netflix Maryland movie, and it was quite popular, let's say. This time around, I'll be doing the same for a Polish voice actor who kindly shared his audio recording and wanted to hear my thoughts and my analysis on his accent. So thanks, Zbigniew. By the way, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Adrian. I'm an accent coach and pronunciation trainer, and I help learners of English improve their pronunciation and their accent to sound less foreign and more native. Also, if you're a Polish language speaker or a Slavic language speaker, this video is especially for you. I actually do speak some Slavic languages. I'm the best at Polish, and then my Russian is okay as well. We'll be looking at lots of these features that make Polish accents and Slavic accents in general. So you can also check out the links below for some free materials like a guide on the most common pronunciation problems for your background language. So check it out, it's in the description. Now let's check out the audio. Okay, so let's have a listen to Zbigniew's audio recording of his prologue chapter. I'll be taking notes on the script with this Apple Pencil.
Prologue. Solitude. What's the purpose of humanity? From where do I remember it? From my Polish schooling?
Alright, so the first thing, which is pretty typical for Slavic accents and a lot of European type accents, is the lack of aspiration. So he says, what's the purpose of humanity from my Polish schooling? And so it should be purpose and Polish, not Polish, but Polish. There's a puff of air there. So let me just write that down here. You can see purpose is missing an H there, and Polish is also Polish sound, is how we say it in English. Polish, not Polish, but Polish.
Is this some Mickiewicz or maybe Słowacki? No, rather Mickiewicz. Solitude.
He says rather or rather. So this the sound is pronounced like a D for him, and he's saying rather. Also, he's saying an ah sound here rather than rather, which is more American. If you want to sound more American, you want to say rather. But if you're fine with being British sounding, you can say rather. It's just that my students want to sound more American, and I'm going to point that out.
The purpose of humanity. I don't agree with this. No, and that's it. Now I'm wandering around the...
So Polish has 6 different oral vowels. English has about 15 or 16 or so, depending on the dialect. And he says, no, I don't agree with this. Not no, but no.
I don't agree with this.
I don't, he says. Not don't, but don't. So it should be don't and no.
No, and that's it. Now I'm wandering around the house alone.
Another vowel that he's missing is actually so he says that's it. He's saying the like the, and then also he's saying det instead of that. So it's the difference between and a. Polish doesn't have a. It's actually kind of a rare vowel in European languages, but it should be a, not here.
And I don't feel good without humans, especially without Jadzia and our daughter. I don't feel good at all.
You can hear that a lot. Don't, rather than don't.
Took our daughter to grandma's, to my mom's. Maybe it's better for me to be alone. I'm waiting for a phone call from Jadzia. In a few hours, everything will be known.
Here's another one that's actually more specific to Polish speakers. He said everything. Instead of everything, he's saying everything. The Y letter is supposed to be pronounced like an E sound in this case, but in Polish, because the Y is represents the I sound, he says every instead of every. And Polish speakers do this a lot. They say things like very, sorry, many instead of many. It's a fun little thing that Polish speakers do, but it should be an E sound. Again, the TH, though, is often pronounced by Polish speakers as a f sound. They say things like I think and everything. Thirsty instead of thirsty. And then, of course, the NG, which is a ng sound, Slavic speakers often pronounce this as nk, because it's hard to say by itself, and so they say nk, like as if there was a G or a K, but there is no G or K there. It's everything.
In a few hours, everything will be known.
Everything.
I'm a little scared of that known.
A little thing that you might not know is actually of is a V sound. You can think of like that.
Just like in the movies or books. In movies, it's probably more common because...
So he says books, movies or books. So these two are actually different vowels. You have U for movies and for books. Movies and books. But he says books instead of books. They're different. And then when he says movies again, it sounds kind of in between because Polish doesn't have a differentiation between U and O, so he says movies instead of movies.
Just like in the movies or books. In
Books.
movies, it's probably more common because I watch them more often. They show...
Oh, here's a cool one actually. This is not as well known. He says, I watch them. It should be a ch sound, I watch them. But then he says, I watch them.
I watch them more.
I watch them more. Do you hear that? This is a cool thing that I like to call Slavic voicing. It's the voicing of consonants to make your vocal cords vibrate. That's what voicing is. This happens a lot in Slavic languages, which is why I call this phenomenon Slavic voicing. In Polish, you get words like liczba, which is spelled with a ch, but then when you pronounce it, say liczba. When you say prośba, it's spelled with a sh, but it's pronounced with a zh. Not prośba, but prośba. Same thing in Russian, prośba. Prośba, not prośba, but prośba. Or także, it's not także. And this is why Slavic speakers often say things like Facebook. Do you have Facebook? Instead of Facebook, because it gets voiced. I think in Polish it's called udzwięcznienie. It's a cool little thing that happens in Slavic accents. It's quite advanced.
They show how beautiful and wonderful everything is. Everyone laughs so nicely. Their teeth are so shiny.
He says laugh, which is British. It's not wrong, but it's like if you want to sound American, you want to say laugh rather than laugh. So that's this sound, laugh, not laugh if you're American. And then he says teeth instead of teeth. So that's again the th becoming a f sound.
And then suddenly, whack! And everyone worries, cries, and even the audience cries with them. Me too. Well, maybe I don't cry like women.
Here, let's go back to aspiration. He says me too, not to, but me too. Maybe I don't cry instead of cry. So you want to have that aspiration if you want to sound more native. Me too. Well, maybe I don't cry like women.
Me too.
Me too instead of me too.
Well, maybe I don't cry like women, but I always have tissues. But a movie is not life, not real life. We watch and think to ourselves how good that it's just a movie.
Here you can hear that he says gut instead of good. It should be good, but he says gut. Kind of like the vowel in movie, and in book is like good book, but movie is oo, and it's different from good. Another thing that you might notice is that he makes the D into a T sound. So you get how gut.
And think to ourselves how good that it...
Did you hear that? It sounded like gut instead of good. And this is a thing that's like the opposite of Slavic voicing because it's the devoicing. Oftentimes you get this in Slavic languages, not all of them, but you do get it in Polish and Russian. You get words like dowód, right? Dowód has a D at the end, but it sounds like a T. But if you say nie ma dowodu, then that's still a D. And so that's ubezdzwięcznienie. And if you're Polish, you probably learned this in school. There's a good chance you have. It's the opposite of udzwięcznienie. It's a fairly common thing in Slavic languages, but not all of them. I think some Slavic languages don't do this, like in Ukrainian doesn't do this. I think Czech and Slovak don't do this. I think Serbo-Croatian doesn't do this, but a lot of the other Slavic languages do this. I think that's a good amount of things that we can talk about. Some common things that we talked about was the aspiration, purpose, Polish, cry, and to. In English, we say these sounds with a puff of air, and that's called aspiration. You got the vowels that are difficult, like U and these pairs of U and that don't exist in many Slavic languages, not by themselves at least. They're not phonemic, but they're allophonic. That means that they don't really differentiate meaning, but in English they do differentiate meaning because pitch and peach, for example, are different words. Food and foot have different vowels. It's important to differentiate them so you can be understood. The th sound is often pronounced like a f in Polish. It's difficult for other Slavic language speakers as well. and then some things like devoicing like gut instead of good, or voicing like watch them instead of watch them. Those are some of the main typical features of Slavic accents, as well as some features specific to Polish accents. I hope that's helpful. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If it was useful, give it a like. Comment below any questions you have, or if you have any accents you want me to work on. Maybe you can message me as well if you want to have your accent analyzed, and I can do a video on that. Be sure to check out some of the links below, because you can get a free pronunciation guide on how you can improve your accent and your pronunciation based on your language background. Let's make your accent amazing.